What's up, guys? You are listening to the Touge Hour podcast. My name is Wade Best, owner of 129 Touge, and joining me are some of the area's most known individuals in the mountain pass scene. Here we discuss the presence of US 129's Touge scene and the endless changing cycle of motorsport-related news. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Touge Hour podcast. My name is Wade. We're here. We got every local here with us. Well, not really every single one of them, but we got the cool ones here. Maybe. We are the cool ones. But we're finally doing the Q&A. A lot of people have been wanting to do a Q&A, and we have some pretty interesting questions. So, without further ado, let's get into this. To my left. To my left is Austin. To my left is Austin Simons.
How you doing? Doing all right?
It's good. It's good. Welcome back again.
Again.
I'm counting the days until we don't have you, because we did miss you on one episode. Yeah. So.
You think I'm going to take one again?
Well, last time you were in the back of someone's car, so we were just. We don't want to lose you.
Or the front of a Porsche, whichever.
Over beside him, we have Dylan Silver, our local photographer.
Waving to everybody that is listening on Spotify. Hi to everybody listening on Spotify.
To my right, we have Doug here, Eurospec LLC.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Pretty little blonde man.
Yeah.
Very handsome.
Some people find him very attractive.
I don't even go for the alignments. I'm going to spend time with Doug.
Hey, we have Thomas Couch down here. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
So, yeah, we're doing a Q&A today. We're going to talk about some Dragon-related questions. We might have some live questions in there, and then we just have some really odd questions. So if you guys are wanting to know what we're giving away a full brake flush of RBF 600 and a t-shirt. So, we're going to pick one of you lucky guys by the end of the podcast.
Or girls.
Or girls, yeah. Sorry. Guys, gals, people.
Ashley, you better win this. I need my girlfriend to win me a brake flush.
But anyways, let's get into it. Has anyone got a question pulled up?
Are we doing small talk?
Right out the gate?
Why are you staring at me? I felt like I asked the wrong question.
Very good format.
It's part of the Q&A. I have a question.
That's true. Well, I will say
You can't enter in.
For the people here that are watching on YouTube, we're in a different setting. We actually just switched over from the other side of the garage. It's a little bit more room, and I started working on the Integra a little bit. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that side is kind of taken, so I'll just switch. And we'll just take over my wife's side.
I feel like this side's more vibrant, like it's brighter over here.
Well,
it's all blue.
Well, look, there's a light there.
There's a light.
There's a light.
One single
darkness
There's a light there too, buddy.
Wait, so you said you were doing stuff on the Integra. Why did you start working on the Integra?
I'm really lazy, and when you work in cars for a living, you kind of don't want to go home and work on more car shit. So I'm finally getting around to switching over my seats that I've had in my garage for 3-4 months now from Bridge Moto.
You got tired of us bullying him.
I got tired of looking at it going, damn it, when am I going to put those dang seats in there? So I had to, unfortunately, I was trying to see if my factory rails work with the seats. Unfortunately, they don't, because it's like a weird side mount thing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, fine, that's whatever. So I ordered some mounts. They'll be in probably end of this week or next, and then I'll really start ripping the whole thing off. I'm switching to Bridge Moto 6-point harnesses, which is a little bit overkill, but...
No, it's not. Safety first.
Safety first, yeah.
There's a lot of opinions on putting harnesses in.
Oh, there is. Yeah, you can really get into it. But in order to delete the factory seat belts, you have to rip pretty much a lot of the side interior plastics out. So pretty much the trunk's going to be gutted. And then I'm going to go ahead and just rip the back seat out.
Man's building a time attack.
Yeah, secretly building a time attack.
The car never gets driven, okay? And when I do drive it, it's not like one of those things where I'm just like, oh, well, it's time to go to work. It's one of those cars that I'm like, if I'm going to go drive this, it's going to hit VTEC and be
Dude,
angry.
I want to buy it so bad. I miss my Integra so much.
You're in VTEC just cruising on the highway, Doug.
So it's a B16A trans. At 74 mile an hour, 73 VTEC changes over in 5th gear final drive, and it's obnoxious. It's not quite as obnoxious VTEC changeover as the S2000, but it's something. But basically that's what I'm getting at. Is I've been putting off doing a lot of work to that car. I've had just boxes and boxes of crap just sitting in there. I got to do a harness bar. I've got to do. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and delete the back seats since I'm not gonna use them.
Where am I gonna sit? In the
Where
trunk?
are we gonna put him? He might not be here.
Yeah.
He can cuddle in my lap.
I'm about to say, I'll just be in your left there, pretty boy.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
So we had the Miltech meet. I didn't get to go to it, unfortunately.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
you went. You went.
Yeah.
You went.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Everyone went
Yeah,
except
everybody
you.
here.
You're the only person out there.
Yeah.
Everybody went excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Miltech is an exhaust company that's also affiliated with my shop as well, Eurospec. They were gracious enough to hook me up with one of their S2000 exhausts. I put it on. I did a little of a screw up on my end putting it on due to rusty stuff, but I was able to kind of fix and mend the issue. But I was one of their not booth cars, but one of their exhaust show
I've
cars.
seen you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you're
were
in the
show-
show section, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm
yeah.
gonna buy an S2000 and I'm gonna put it as a show car. But it's, I mean,
I don't know what I'm going to do with that car.
you can't fault the S2000. It's almost to the point now, like you can go anywhere and be like
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
Like it can go to like a Radwood, or it can go to I don't know if qualifies Radwood,
I mean,
but it could go to a track day, or it can go to a show or a meet, and it can be like that's significant if it's done
Yeah.
Yeah.
correctly.
Speaking of Redwood, I'm actually going to go in April 1st.
I saw the ad for that.
They're doing one in Charlotte at the Hendrick Motorsports facility / museum.
It's really far away.
It is far away, but we'll just pile people in the.
I'll tell you right now, I'd rather drive to Charlotte than Daytona.
Yeah.
I will agree with that. Yeah, I
I'm just
agree
saying.
with that. No
Man, it's
question.
good.
But yeah, the Miltech meet was great, man. They had a lot of really, really cool cars. A lot of like some exotic stuff on the inside. It was cold in the morning, but the sun was A1. Had a bunch of people from Auto Finesse as well. I guess they're an affiliate with them. Basically a bunch of people from London. So it was fun getting a chat with some of those guys from London because they were in awe. And what's funny is
They were in awe of like the Camaros and the Mustangs.
Yeah.
And, like, all
They
the,
loved
like,
all the
muscle
big-
cars. Like
There was
Big
a Challenger. They were like, "Whoa!" I was like, by the way, if anyone has a Challenger, I was like, "That's regular
take your
traffic."
splitter guards off. Take your splitter guards off.
But I will say, so there was an A91 MT edition Mark V Supra, and for those of you that don't know, it's this.
There's one there.
Yeah, it's this beautiful. It's like Nardo gray with gold flake. It's technically carbon.
See you later,
copper
gray.
flake. Yeah, see you later, as in the letter C, the letter U for copper. I saw it, dude. I still can't get over that steering
It's
wheel.
gorgeous.
The whole interior.
Change the steering wheel
No,
up.
the whole interior. It looks like they were halfway
Oh, wait a
in between swapping the interior colors. Like, I don't understand why you would pick that color. And now,
The rest of the interior looks great, except for the steering wheel.
no, I think the whole interior looks.
I
bad.
love that like
They should've-
leatherish brown.
So I would have liked it
I
if they
love
fully
it.
committed, but I'm not going to get on a whole rant. The car looks great on the outside, though. That color is phenomenal.
It's a
And,
beautiful color.
and the gold in the wheels, the copper in the wheels, has the same flake. I was
yes.
like, whoa. But I feel like we're going to talk about the Mark V Super a good bit today, because there are some questions I saw that I
There
would
is.
answer.
That guy is a really cool guy. He actually has a beautiful Datsun 280Z.
The orange one?
No, it is
Or a
blue.
different guy?
It is actually a CRX blue. And it has an LS swap in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Nope.
That one.
L28.
I
No,
want
that's
to say it's out of
Honda.
2019 Silverado or something of the sort. It's a newer engine.
So an LT.
I believe it is an LT.
Whoa.
But I can't confirm or deny that. The guy actually used to daily drive a Sonic Gray Pearl Type R and traded the Type R in because they gave him more than what he owed on it or what it was worth to him, and got that Supra. So that
That's a
Supra is
fair
now his
trade.
daily driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dude. I'm not going to get into the car too early because I feel like it's gonna be it's for Q&A. But Miltech was fun. I didn't do anything. To,
Yeah.
Oh, I know I've talked to pretty much all you guys about it, but I've decided on what I'm going to do next for my race car.
Oh yeah.
And it involves taking a rotary out of something because they suck. Sometimes. They suck sometimes. I don't want to piss off people.
Okay,
Unless
but-
you just want to, if you just want to
That-
clip it, where I said rotary suck and make that a real
Yeah.
then go ahead.
That generation of rotary sucks.
That,
Don't give it away, God.
Well, that one's pretty obvious. All right.
Damn, couch.
We could switch it real quick. Because we've not heard anything from this man. I heard you shot down a balloon.
Yeah.
I heard you flew the Miata.
So I
Yeah,
used
you
the
just
wing.
launched it off like a
990,
ramp.
bam,
Yeah.
right across.
That's exactly
Straight on.
with a harpoon gun.
Okay.
It's nice.
Yeah,
Save the whales.
I did.
Save the whales.
No, I'm just making more coral reefs. You know, that kind of deal. And all the batteries that were in there are good for the eels.
So before anyone turns this podcast
NASCAR was their season opener exhibition thing was Sunday. That was interesting.
Wait, at the stadium?
Coliseum,
Yes.
Yeah, the Coliseum.
LA.
I heard that was the cringiest NASCAR
Production.
It was. It
Yes.
was.
Super
I mean,
forced.
so many mistakes. Gwen Stefani was one of the announcers for a small
I
period
thought you were about to
of time.
say she wasn't driving.
No, God, that'd be hilarious. She might have done just as good as some of the other guys there, because literally it was kill or be killed the whole race. There was like 16 cautions.
Yeah.
The track is half the size of Bristol.
They said Freedom Factory, come here.
Bro, dude, it was smaller than Freedom Factory.
Oh my god.
It's like first gear barely touched second gear. The whole track. And it was just a lot of beat and banging. Too many cautions. Atrocious halftime shows and announcing stuff like Gwen Stefani calling out one of the guys for saying, "Oh, I remember the first time I met you. You were drunk." The guy was like, don't say that on live TV type of thing. And it was live TV, so there's nothing they could do about it. But Martin Truex got the win, which I mean that's his first win in over a year. Yeah, so that was pretty good. So, anyways, that's all I'll touch on NASCAR. I'll just do that every week, except for next week.
Oh, NASCAR talk.
Yeah, because I'm a NASCAR fan. What do you expect? So, brother,
anything
interesting?
We have our first question, which isn't a question.
Oh, we're getting right into it. Okay, hold on.
Let's do this, brother.
As of 237 said, y'all need an RX-8 in your life.
Oh man, going straight out.
No.
Couch exposed it.
Yeah,
so.
I already exposed that.
So I have Andrew Kiesler, I'm pretty sure is how you pronounce his last name.
Yep.
Automation is local to us-ish, Knoxville, and they specialize in the LFX into the RX-8 chassis, and they have like a full brochure, and if anyone knows me, they know I know a lot of like pointless car facts, and so I like to research about cars a lot. And so he has a full brochure going over like torsional rigidity, drag, weight distribution, everything in the car. And when the swap is done, the car weighs less than an 8.6 and makes over 320 to the wheels.
That's insane.
And you can fit I think the widest you can go on a stock body is a 275 tire. Double wishbone front and rear, I think, or is it double wishbone front?
It's literally an NC, just slightly longer and...
Dude,
it's wider too.
Another weird fact. It has a
59.5
inch track width,
Yeah.
but it's also an inch longer in wheelbase than a C6 base.
Huh.
It is, but a lot of people seem to like it for some odd reason.
But
But
C6 Corvette,
it is an
What?
inch longer
maybe
in
it's just because the
wheelbase.
Corvette just seems like it's long in the
Because of
front.
the hood,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did all the research on that, and you can get one of those cars running with labor from them for under $20,000. And
That's not bad.
Pretty much a turnkey car.
yeah, and for me, my biggest worry, especially right now with my 8.6, is obviously it blowing up and me owing a bunch of money. But for any car that I get, like if I wanted to get a B58 powered car like a Supra, if I blew that up, I would be out even more money. E92 M3, same thing. All these other cars, so
That makes more sense than a K-Swap Miata.
it makes a lot more sense because it is a Miata with torque, more torque.
It really is. It is a Miata. if you think
Yeah.
about it.
Hog-ass cam.
And so the LFX it revs to about 75. It makes 290 torque and about 350 crank. So that at 2750, that's the power to weight is similar to a new Supra.
Yeah.
Without obviously the crazy low end torque of the B58. But yeah, that makes so much more sense. And if I blow up an engine, I'm out $1,300 ish. If I blow up a trans, which the swap kit uses the V6 from the 2012 to 2019 Camaro. So if I blow
You
it
find
up,
them everywhere.
dude, they were in the Cadillacs. I don't know what Cadillacs, but Cadillac
They were in
GMC.
cars from what, 2012
To 2019.
Yeah.
The whole 5th gen Camaro and a bunch of Cadillacs and GMCs and Buicks and other stuff. So yeah, they're everywhere. Transmissions are about $700.
Now, are you going to be using the RX-8 transmission?
No.
Or would you use
No,
the-
so you
It's
use
the
that.
V6 Camaro transmission.
Oh, okay.
You pretty much use the engine, the trans custom drive shaft, and the diff from the Camaro.
Okay.
And then and it's like a 410 gear or a 383. You can get either ratio.
If you don't put an SS badge on it, I'll be upset.
Dude, I need a Mazda RS because the SS is the V8, so I'd have to do the RS.
Also, the guy who asked that question also is a Type R owner. I just checked his Instagram. So, hi, friend.
Oh, very nice.
Anyways.
Yeah, but yeah,
No
we
one
do.
cares.
Thankfully, to the guy who said that, we will have an RX-8 on
Soon.
the podcast. We're not going to say soon because I got to get rid of my X6. But yeah, so there's that.
All right, well, you.
I got one from old Isaac. Isaac MX5. Long-awaited question. Miata or S2K as a Touge vehicle?
Y'all go first.
I'm going after who commented on it. I'm going to say his Instagram name because I know who it is. But Mr.
Wide load underscore. I'm going to go after him, but y'all go first.
So
Okay.
specifically, which Miata?
He did not
It
specify.
just Miata.
Just Miata.
Just
Miata or
Miata?
S2000?
I'm gonna go ahead and say
Say a
either NA or
similar.
NB. Probably NA or NB because that's what people are most likely.
He
gonna
does
buy.
have an NA, so that makes sense.
So you're the Miata man.
S2000.
This guy's a Miata man. Wait, what?
If we're going off NA, NB, S2000, S2000.
The Miata man.
As
the
a
local Miata man just said F2000.
As a Touge vehicle, that's what the comment says. It says, as a Touge
Yep.
vehicle, which one are you taking?
Okay, so this is a loaded question. Remember, I owned an NB for 11 some odd years, and now I own an S2000. I sold my Miata because I bought the Type R. So, it depends on a financial aspect, to be honest with you. Tire cost, so much more expensive than an S2000. Maintenance cost, so much more expensive on an S2000. Anything else you look at is more expensive on an S2000 over an NB. Now,
But so is your smile.
But you also pay for the driving experience. You can say that about
True.
anything.
but if you are basing your decision entirely on just driving the mountain, no money has any issue.
Money,
on
no
the matter.
object. Which one are you taking?
Money,
Yes.
no object.
Like you're talking gas maintenance. Everything's paid for your car. All you have to do is drive it.
All you have to do is just beat the living crap out of
I'm
it.
a pig dog.
I'm gonna pick. I'm only gonna pick. This is how tight this question is for me. I'm only gonna pick
Whoa.
S2000 for one reason:
Power. VTEC.
VTEC.
Yep, called it.
Dang.
Dude, after driving the Integra, anything with VTEC.
Anything
it's
with
like, I'm
VTEC.
just going to sit there all day and live in La La Land.
Anytime I
That's
change,
it.
and it's just the dumb sound that it makes. You're just like,
The crossover. So my Integra
Yes.
had a built. It had a built B18C, and crossover was at. It's 350Z got back, but it had VTEC, so it revved to 85, and it had VTEC crossover at 43.
Yep.
Dude, I
Mine
had
is 44.
4,000 plus revs of VTEC, and dude,
Exactly.
you just sit there, just bop, 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 and
Yep.
it's such a good feeling.
And it's hilarious being in the S2000. So I've only gone with the Dragon one time up with the S2000.
Oh, you
so
bought a
far.
picture. Thanks, by the way.
Got you. I got you, boo. I actually love that picture. So
Oh, thanks.
A1, sir. I've only been up there once so far. It rubbed like hell, so I got to do some more work. But I bought the car in like at the very, very beginning of winter, so I can't really say that I went up there and been up there a bunch of times yet. Let's see how the spring and summer goes with it, and we'll go from there. But with the S2000, it's just funny because of the fact that this car only has an intake and exhaust on it. Like that's literally the only power mod it has, and it's just funny because VTEC changeover is like 6,500 RPM.
It's super high up.
It's super high up. So it's funny, you go into the corner and and you get yourself out of VTEC. And then you accelerate out of a corner, and you just change. It's literally 2 notes every time. And it's just like, it's literally just have this.
If you don't make just that a real
Yes, it's so real. Yeah, please reel that. But that's literally what you do the whole time, and the whole time you're just grinning. It doesn't matter if you're hauling ass or just cruising or doing a soft pass. Just the little VTEC changeover after every corner exit is just hilarious.
What about you?
You drove an S2000. Granted, heavily modified.
You know what you have to say, but you had the strength to say it.
No. He said,
Like I
those of
said,
you that
so,
didn't hear him, he said, no.
so everything paid for. Because that's in this theoretical world, that's the only way to discern it. Everything paid for, gas, insurance, maintenance, mods, whatever.
Brother.
S2000.
Fair enough.
Coming from someone who's driven quite a few stock and modified,
Wow.
it's gotta be the S
Blown away.
for a number of reasons. One, the only reason you buy a Miata is because you don't have the money for an S2000. Let's be honest. Okay,
Dude, you
let's
need some content out of this.
right out the gate. You bought a Miata.
That's a real. That's a real.
You bought a Miata because you can't afford an S2000, and I said it because I am the living aspect of that.
Okay, well, at least it's related.
Okay,
So.
Because
I
I'm
have-
not, because I bought an NC.
Yeah,
so.
that's it. I would have an S2000 over my Miata in a heartbeat, but I have a Miata. So
I know what you're picking.
it's the gauge cluster. It's
Hold on, say what you said at the very beginning that was so controversial. I have something for it. About why someone doesn't have an S2000.
the only reason you buy a Miata is because you don't have the money for an S2000.
I had to do that.
You had it on the head.
So it's the gauge cluster, it's the revs, it's the way the car wants to just kind of hang its ass end out a little bit.
I didn't think about gauge cluster.
Like it's I don't know, it has an X factor that Miatas can have, but it's not as everlasting
Yeah, when
as
you
an
spend
S2000.
$10,000 on a case swap.
Well, who got that good of a deal? $10,000. That's a
That's a
deal.
good deal. See, the thing is as much as it costs for a K-swap to do K-Miata things, which is sick, don't get me wrong, you just go ahead and just buy an S2000.
K's a better engine.
Well, hold on.
Loaded question.
I'm not going to go too deep into this because that's not what we're on about right now.
Yeah,
But just real quick, I don't want to go. Like, I could go buy an S2000, yes, but it wouldn't be modified, and I wouldn't want to beat the crap out of it as much as I want to beat up a Miata.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the whole reason.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, get a K-swap Miata because then I don't have to really care about it.
Yeah, and
Why-
if you get an S2000, you do care about it.
Why did
Exactly.
you stare at me the way you stared at me, Wade?
Because you know what your answer is.
Okay, so the S2000 sucks to me because our friend Forrest, who's on the podcast, had an S2000 that started off its life very stock and went through many iterations, and I drove it. And, like, the dude he never has a crappy car because he gets it worked on professionally at a shop. Everything gets diagnosed. Something was wrong with this car. I drove it constantly, and I just cannot get over the steering. And
Jody's and all this, you'll rewrite your whole opinion.
And
I
no,
promise.
I've driven
Promise.
other S2000s. That's the
Drive
thing.
Jody's.
Let me finish. Jason Camisa went over it in an Instagram post. I don't want to pull it up now because we'll lose the questions, but he talks about why the S2000 just doesn't work for him. And I would still take that over a Miata. I just,
Okay.
with everything that I'm big on, like, weird Carfax and the chassis development, the X-frame that's in the chassis of the S2000, the suspension design of the S2000, just how it does feel special when you drive it. It's a Miata just feels like you end up in a Miata you desire to be in an S2000.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way that, like, I can relate it to, like, Sequoia and Land Cruiser guys.
Oh, God.
Okay? Land Cruiser guys don't notice Sequoia guys, but Sequoia guys do notice Land Cruiser guys. Same way
That is true.
same
That's
way
so right.
Miata owners, that we look at S2000s. S2000 owners don't look at Miata
Now,
owners.
before we lose all of our Miata listeners, like, the Miata does have a lot of great things that make it, and especially when you look at price and you look at what the Miata's done, especially for racing.
Yeah.
With
Most race car every weekend.
Mazda's development in racing and everything else, that's where the Miata does have its benefits, but this question asked solely as a Touge vehicle.
As a race car, it'd be Miata.
Look at
All day Miata.
So the fastest car, and it's tied with the Feed FD RX-7, but the fastest car in the world on the Gunside Touge, which is a pretty good metric for Touge vehicles, is the J's Racing S2000. So that also goes into the aftermarket development and consistency for that chassis. The Miata has it too, but it's almost like it's capped at a certain level.
But I'll also say this: Miatas are way more reliable than S2000s. 100%.
I go NC up, yeah.
Go to look at my NA and tell me it's unreliable.
No, I think you're a complete outlier, 100%.
But what I'm saying is, I think in general, as a broader statement, Miatas are more reliable than S2000s. I've worked like a year at Def Motion, and now granted we were an S2000 shop, but still, from all my time being around Miatas outside of work and then working at Def Motion, S2000s definitely are a little more problematic. Now granted, there's reasons for that, but that doesn't mean S2000 not unreliable. It's just it's less reliable than.
But here's the thing, Miatas have unreliable tendencies.
100%.
Like,
Every car can be
But
reliable. if you
every
look at
car has their unreliable tendencies. Look at the NC, for example.
it. Apologize for that noise.
Yeah,
everyone.
sorry about the siren. We can't.
Someone's currently dying.
Yeah.
Some Miata guys having a heart attack.
So
That's
to
a Miata.
literally take the NC, for example, the VVT solenoid on the NC1s, which is the 2006 to 2008 year models. VVT solenoid is
You might as well not even talk.
actuator
Just pick that up.
junk.
No, you just have to talk louder.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk over it.
the VVT actuator that's in the valve cover is trash.
Damn, they coming in here.
Yeah, especially if you run the car low on oil, your VVT solenoid actuator will start ticking. You will spin a rod bearing.
Well,
every time. There is a TSB out on
Don't
Mossman.
go so far with this.
I don't want to beat this into the round, but
I'm beating it.
all I
I'm
was
beating
gonna
the
say
dead
is,
horse.
as
Because
a
that's
race
what
car-
took out my first
As a race
engine.
car, Miata, Touge car, which is what the question was based off of, S2000.
I'll agree with you. Anyways,
Next.
Well,
Next.
I was going to say that's a perfect segue. So for Mr. CarGuy.Steve on Instagram, if you could have whatever car you want for the Touge, no matter the cost, what would it be and why?
SRT4. Next.
God.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think we're all in agreement there.
So I think I saw this question before, and I mentioned it to you at work, Wade, that the Supra would be the perfect car for up there. But thinking about it now, again, reading it is like I would want an experience. Like I would want it. Like no matter the cost, and this doesn't matter if the car breaks. This doesn't matter about gas. This doesn't matter about maintenance or anything. And I think I would genuinely enjoy and have more just pure raw enjoyment from an FDRX7 over a B58 Supra.
I agree with that.
Interesting, because I was going to say the FC.
Well, yeah, but
Okay.
I just think rotaries, as much as I want to rip one out of an RX-8, I just think that chassis combined with that engine and that transmission, the cockpit, everything that makes an FD and an FC, FB, SA, whatever, special, that would be, especially being able to drive it and not have to worry about it.
Exactly, like, oh, I don't have to pay to fix these cars? Cool, yeah, I'll just drive this.
Like someone else is buying my premix, whatever. Yeah. I think if that could be, because the question says, if you could have whatever car you want for the Touge, no matter the cost, what would it be? I think every time I went up to the Dragon, whether it's raining, and this could be any road, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny and 70, I think I would genuinely get my fix and have this surreal experience in an FD over, especially Mark V Supra, because the Supra's a cheat code. The FD is this, you can't even put like words to it. It's such a special experience that you can't replicate. So I would take an FD.
I was going to develop more into the Supra itself because, like, I love my Supra to death. It's awesome. It does everything I want it to do, except for the fact that when you drive it in that sort of way, it's only there to either get it all or nothing.
Yeah, there's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
That car's going to do what you make it do, but it's not a fun car to drive.
Right.
That car's there. It's serious. That's it.
So what would you take then?
What I would take, on the other hand, is something that I could row through the gears, not too much horsepower, and I mean it's on like the half and half point. I would take an 8.6, but I'm not gonna lie, I want to change it up a little bit. I'm probably gonna take probably TSX. I'll take a TSX.
What?
Dude, no, 100%. So double wishbone front and rear, 3,100 pound, 32-ish. K24A2, especially to go 06 to 08 because of the cams. And that transmission is slick.
Wait, I can't see you in a front wheel drive, brother. Sorry.
I know. I always wanted one though.
I can't.
Yeah.
That'd be the one I'd pick.
That would be a good
A
family
white
car
one.
too, by the way.
Oh god.
Oh, you just want Vince's car. So we have FD, FC, TSX.
I'm actually going to agree with you, Dylan. For once, we're not disagreeing. No, FD, R7, with a rotary. With the lack of torque of a rotary, you could really pull yourself out of a corner without kicking the ass in around on every corner.
I just think the whole experience of a rotary in general, it doesn't have to be big turbo. It doesn't have to be...
Can confirm.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, there's a reason that so many people still have theirs after all these years.
Yes.
And it's such an experience.
Second on my list would have to be S2000, and then third on my list would have to be an EK9 type R, probably.
Midori Green, right? Oh, well, they don't come in Midori Green.
EK9, but a Midori would be nice. Not Phoenix Halo for me.
I like the EK9.
Yeah.
EK9s.
Mine would. It's honestly a toss up between an FC and probably an MV like what Mike Brown has. I don't
Oh
know
God, yeah, that's a pretty
Well,
cool.
Wait, is it the one with the V8?
Yeah, my Brow has an E36.
E36.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
So I was actually going to make an honorable mention for an E30.
Yeah. Oh, E30.
Oh, we're doing honorable mention. Okay, so I'll go because I'm big on like the experience of cars. So I would probably go the FD C701.
Oh my God.
Dude, you talking about an experience? That would be crazy.
Yeah, sideways
ACR
experience.
Viper at that point.
Oh man, you're right.
Just buy an AC.
Oh wait, no. Okay, scratch C701 first gen Viper.
Ooh,
Very
first gen
first
is trying to kill you.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's
My,
gonna
my
death
mom
wish.
had a first gen,
My
so
mom
that would
a
be,
second gen.
but yeah, but it would be the nostalgia aspect.
Yeah.
So yeah, an FD, a Viper, and then yeah, I'd probably want some sort of Honda. I would probably want like a DC2 Type R, but like JDM 5-lug right hand drive.
Yeah.
I would definitely want something right hand drive. Like I would like my FD to be left hand drive, and then have some crazy American muscle car. I'm not a big fan of driving German cars hard, even 911s. Like, even if someone gave me a GT4 RS, like, that's cool, but hey, it's not made.
Same thing as the Supra. It's just like, it's made to do one
It's
thing.
all or nothing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
people,
it's
I'm sure people are going to argue, like, air-cooled Porsches and stuff like that. And, like,
Singer.
yeah, see, like, people are going to argue that, but at that point, like, I would be terrified.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you don't have to pay for it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just, my number one is going to be an RX-7. It's crazy that I'm going to couch as half, 3.5 of us went with rotaries just because of the experience of it, not because they're going to be the fastest, and not because
I just want rotary noises.
That's
Yeah, I just want rotary noises.
all right, boys. Moving on. I got a question from C_Price or Cameron Price to be exact. Another Type R buddy of mine. He said, if you guys had to switch cars with another person on the podcast, which car would you want to switch?
I'm taking Wade's beers.
with,
Taking a Supra.
and why?
Nobody's got an SRT4, so I'm not switching with anybody.
okay, well, you read it, so
Okay,
go for it.
Yeah.
I'll actually choose Wade Supra.
Okay.
Yeah, Wade Supra just for obvious reasons. It's an awesome car.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that.
Wade's BRZ because literally driving his BRZ is what made me want to buy one.
Good call.
I like that.
But you also
Go ahead. Now go ahead.
Wait, no, why was he with you? Well, who's with you two?
Wait, Supra. No, I'll take his R. I really like his
I was
R.
wondering if you would pick his R96 because of how much you like driving my 86.
Well, I have a BRZ, so I'm
Yeah, but you
gonna
mentioned how different the new one was.
I know, but this man, look at him. I gotta choose his Type R.
You wouldn't choose my S2000?
No.
I have an 86. No.
I already have a Miata. He already has a Miata, dog. He doesn't.
Oh yeah, forget it.
Let me do it for you. That's pretty much me on it.
So solely to be different. Force Supra.
No.
Wait, does that
I like the
say,
silver
does that
just a
say
little more.
does that say podcast or friend group?
It said podcast, and Force has been on.
Force is
Yeah,
wow,
Force is-
what a loophole.
Yeah.
Force
What a
Supra is
loophole.
technically slower.
What the
But his is silver. Easier to keep clean.
I'd
Yeah,
rather
but
have
his
white
looks
than
white.
silver.
His
If you look at them side by side, when we're in a certain area of light, like we're going up the dragon, white, bam. He's pretty much me. No.
I'd have Wade Supra in yellow.
I'm gonna take Austin's Miata.
hey.
Probably the last person to take it too.
He's the reason my stepdaughter's in cars.
Okay.
That make her so happy.
Alright, that's
I like
good call.
Ended on a wholesome note.
Yeah, that was pretty wholesome.
I
I was
bought-
expecting it to blow up, but then you were
Yeah.
like,
No.
what's that daughter?
No. So
That's
for anyone
good.
that doesn't know, like I have a girlfriend. Obviously, she has a daughter, and the only time she's ever been comfortable on the Dragon was you going sideways. So it it made her it made her want a Miata. It made her feel comfortable in the car, and it allowed her to have fun and forget about everything else for just a second. That's what cars are about. And so, and the only car she wants, and you've heard this directly from her, the only car she wants is Austin's Miata.
Not just a Miata.
Not
Not
just
just
Miata.
she wants Austin's Miata. That's her dream car. And so if I had the opportunity to get that car to swap with somebody and give up my 8.6, I would take Austin's Miata and give her that Miata.
It's so weird that like my $3,000 shitbox. It's so much street
It's
car.
not when we were at Buc-ee's and that girl came up and was like, "Oh, it's so cute. Can I take a picture of
Yeah,
that?"
no,
And then
it's
they
like-
walked away. I hit the hood up. I was like, "You hear that?
I know. It was like
You're still low.
it was like the initial demo. It's like, you hear that? She called us cute.
Blows up. All right, you. Next question.
I don't even have the questions pulled up.
Bruh.
Wow.
Wow. All right. So
All right, you. Next question.
So, one of the I really like this from I'm still on Instagram, obviously, from A Jenkins Graham. So I believe it's our good friend Anthony Jenkins. K Swap the World versus LS Swap the World, and who wins?
I think this only could be solved by
Whoa!
via fist
I
fight.
asked the question. Let me
It can
go.
only be solved via fist fight.
Well,
This
the
is
LS
more
has
though.
4
Did you
more
say-
fifths. So
You said K-Swap the World versus
LS.
So
Oh,
should
brother.
would every car have a K series or every car have an
LS.
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 My
All
God.
Yeah,
day.
100%.
LS.
I like how all you guys are really gonna be to this.
Push rod, baby.
All you would hear outside would be angry bee noises if
Yeah.
everything was all case.
Also, the amount of oil in our atmosphere
Yeah.
would be insane. I think K-swaps belong in lightweight sports cars, but I would not want to drive a C7 or a C6 or a B30.
Have you seen that C10 that's K-swapped?
Yeah, that kid actually goes. He
does, like,
goes
real
to
life
school about 20 minutes from my parents' house.
Really?
Yeah. No.
That's pretty
If
good.
everything was LS Swap the World, you would have Texas Speed Performance would be bigger than the government.
It would be Walmart.
But yeah, I think Ellis. I think we all would.
I think it's just for an overall aspect. I think. I mean, I'll agree with you. Wow, we're agreeing more often than
This is,
normal.
yeah, wow. What a wholesome podcast.
Wholesome, yeah. Small car, K-swap all day. Big car or big truck, LS.
Well,
I think the threshold is 3,200 pounds.
The weird thing
LS.
is, though, is that LSs aren't even that much heavier than K-swaps.
No.
They're really not.
And that's what's sad about that.
But
No, but I think the a light car likes revs,
No,
and a
for sure.
heavier car likes torque.
Well,
and-
also, they're easier to work on when it's a K, not a LS.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the threshold is 3,200 pounds. Anything under gets K. Anything over gets an LS.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I'll read the next one.
Go for it, bud.
Better.
All right, yeah, okay. John Schooler 04. What's the closest call you've ever had or seen? I don't know if this is pertaining to Dragon, but I mean, closest call you ever had or
Let's
seen.
go strictly with the dragon to keep it a little bit.
Okay,
more.
we'll go with the Dragon.
Yeah, because I was about to say we all know about fours, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, who wants to go first on that one? I'm not going first. On
I
this
have
one.
so,
gotta think
there's
for a minute.
so many.
I mean, so being a photographer, I'm super fortunate that I sit in most of the time safe places, but also I've gotten really lucky with not seeing accidents in my corners. I guess closest call being like, I have two for me. One when I was driving on the Dragon, and one when I was up on the Dragon. I just packed up shooting when our good friend Sean flipped his Miata, and for anyone that doesn't know Sean, he had an MD2 with no roll bar and 200 treadwear tires. And he came into a hard double left-hand corner, shade tree for all of us. He went in and
Just kept going.
took a left, and the tires weren't. I believe that the tires weren't quite hot yet, and the car instead of just kind of oversteering and catching, it oversteered and kept going, and the car rotated into a pretty heavy, like a 4-foot drop off. It just hucked him into like a ditch, roof first, and when we found out that happened, I was like, he's dead. And after there've been, unfortunately, some fatalities on the Dragon for people that we know, I was like, I can't. I don't want to lose a friend. And so I was extremely worried. I was extremely panicked. And that's probably the closest, because I don't know how he wasn't. We were at the hospital with him. Not even a concussion.
That's
Insane.
Yeah, but the closest call driving was when that golf R went off in front of me. I think we've talked about it before, but the dude was trying to outrun me.
I know your closest call.
I don't know. Do it.
The Miata.
That's specific.
That's a pretty close call. Not your Miata. Someone else's Miata.
Oh!
Oh!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
So,
What about, let's pick one we can talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Miata,
I
maybe?
was like, we could technically talk about that. It's not that big a deal. It happened like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, was riding with a friend of mine, and last thing I remember, like, kind of giving him, like, some, like, driving tips. I'm like, hey, working on turning in on Apex and stuff like that. Next thing I remember, we're walking on the side of the road.
You don't remember anything between that?
Nothing in between. Zilch, not a square root jack. Looked at, and so immediately was like trying to process everything that was going on and see the sign for the overlook. And I was like, oh, that's not good. I was like, we're in the dead middle. So I looked at a friend of mine, and I was like, hey, overlook's this way. We need to start going this way. Because, I mean, so there's cabins this way. It's our shortest walk.
Yeah.
So we got to start hiking. So we started walking, and luckily our good friend Forrest and my buddy Caleb, and they just happened to come back looking for us. They thought we already went home.
Yeah.
And they came back and found us walking on the side of the road. We flipped 40, 50 yards down the mountain. Rolled a Miata that was completely stock.
No roll
like
bar?
all seasons, no roll bar, no airbag. The seatbelt didn't actuate properly. It was good times.
It doesn't look like a Miata.
No, it looked pretty rough.
Luckily, you walked away from that.
Well, yeah, I was say I walked away.
Literally walked away from it.
Yeah, literally, with a fractured skull. That was fun. And then, but he had a really bad concussion. I mean, he has between, the time we started walking that I remember, to where they found us, which memory's hazy, but it felt like we only walked for like 10 minutes or so. And when they found us,
They found him in Fontana.
we were 3 miles from the accident or something like that.
So it had been a solid 40 minutes.
Yeah.
No, that would be running. You had been walking for almost an hour.
Yeah, we've been walking for a minute.
I doubt you're walking faster than 3 miles an hour.
Well, he had a big scrape in his knee that needed stitches, and he had a really bad concussion. He asked me what happened like 7 times. I was like, I don't know, man. We're walking on the side of the road, so I imagined we crashed. So I was like, we need to start walking.
Yeah, we need to go this way, buddy.
Yeah.
What about yours, Will?
I mean, I think the closest thing that's ever happened to me, fortunately, I've never had an off on anything other than the track, but lost a brake pad.
The video you showed me with Couch in the car?
Yeah.
Going in the radar, lost a brake pad.
You can hear it literally exit the chat.
So he showed me the video. I don't know how you're always so composed, man. He was like, oh. That was it.
Yeah, I was going in the radar stretch and hit the brakes, and
There's
the brake pedal was kind of like stiff just for a second. You could feel it kick back, and then you heard pop, and it bounced around and exit. And brake pedal went all the way down because, there's no pad there, so the piston went out.
Yeah.
So all that fluid went back there. The front brakes had no fluid. So if I was smart, I would have kept braking. But, I still controlled the car pretty well. I just kept pulling up and down on the handbrake.
He cradled this car into the pull-off at radar.
That's why road knowledge is
With the
huge. I
handbrake.
knew there was a pull-off up there. I was like, this is just going to have to go. And it's still going fast when I went to the pull-off, so I just pulled the handbrake. It rotated all the way around, and we kept going.
That's good for the next question about knowing the road.
Yeah.
But
You?
I'd say that I've had 2 close calls, not with my own self, other than really almost hitting a baby coyote, but chasing other people. It comes on to the people trying to run away from you and they're pushing past their limits.
That was what happened with the Golf R.
Yeah,
It was
pretty
trying
much.
to run from you.
I've been years ago. I think before I even met any of you guys, I was chasing a Prelude, and we went backwards through gravity, and he blew gravity, went straight into the lane. Obviously,
where the Ferrari flipped.
The Ferrari was heading toward North Carolina side, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were heading toward Tennessee side
Oh.
and going down the gravity.
Ooh.
He understeered down gravity in front of a Wrangler.
For anyone that doesn't know, gravity cavity is like a S turn. And so he pretty much went a straight line.
He went a
for an
straight
S.
line, blew gravity, and went, I'd say at least 15 feet away from not hitting this Wrangler. Luckily, the Wrangler was just putt-butting through, so they were able to come a complete stop. He definitely gave the Prelude a good earful there for a minute. And then I'd say my second one would be I was chasing a Nissan, it's not a K car, it's not a Pulsar, it's some sort of Starlet. There it is.
Oh,
Starlet. I was
that's
chasing
a Toyota, isn't it?
Yeah, Toyota Starlet, sorry. I was chasing a Starlet and he was on I think 5 or 6 year old R888s.
Oh, I know who you're
And decided to do a complete 180, just chucked into a corner and just rolled way past the tires' expectations.
Yeah.
And basically did a complete 180 in his lane.
Because it's a Starlight.
It's a Starlight, yeah.
And was facing me. And I mean, I stopped. I had plenty of time to stop. I just.
And you were in Miata at that point.
And I literally went, hi. And yeah, he was definitely a little shook after that one. So that's my only 2 there.
My 2, I have 2 specific ones that do stand out. Number 1, I talked about it on the cons episode 2 episodes ago when this one will come out. Talk about that. We all know what happened with that. We all know what went on. Somebody passed on local straight. We would have been, 3 seconds sooner he would have killed us. The other one, though, was probably 2021 Fall Tailgate Fest. And I was chasing a Type R. At night, I just put DTCs on like the day prior. They had bedded in. They were still kind of bedding in. But, brand new DTCs, they love to spark. Anyway, I was behind him, and we were going into 2 squares where Chris went off.
Yeah.
And it was the second, we were coming through the second one, and he turned, and he just understeered. Straight into the pull-off. He was 2 wheels off after the pull-off.
Mm-hmm.
Probably came within 20 feet of just smacking into a tree. And he pulled off the next at mud.
Yeah, I
There's
was
a lot of people understeer there.
Yeah.
Check his underwear probably is what he had to do. What's that next question, bud?
So I saw one when Wade was talking about knowing that pull-off was there, and good old James Noonan, it's like a MRS driver, which, dude, I love those cars.
MRS and a Honda Fit.
Oh, does he have both?
Yes.
Dude, what a combo!
Yeah.
2 supercars. Well, the Fit's a hypercar, the MRS is a sports car.
There we go.
So, to pretty much summarize, I will read the whole question, but summarize my answer. So, his question says, do you or anyone you know use visualization to learn or refine your knowledge of a course? And if so, can you visualize the entire dragon in your mind? As we know, a lot of accidents can be partly due to unfamiliarity with the road. I'd like to hear y'all elaborate on techniques to learn it. And he also goes on to say, love this podcast, by the way, about time. There's a dedicated Touge podcast. Thank you, James. Yeah,
Appreciate
much
it.
thanks.
Awesome comment.
So,
Fantastic question, by the way.
Go ahead. I have a really good one for this, though.
go ahead then.
Yeah.
So,
First.
I've been coming up to the dragon since I was a child, like, very young child. And something I would do, ever since I had an interest in cars is, because, I couldn't drive them at the time, or, my car was broken when I got a little older or whatever, is I would sit in the passenger seat, and I would sit there and just close my eyes and just feel the dragon and imagine where I was going through the dragon. I did this a lot with, actually, Forrest. A lot when the Javelin was broken. We'd come up here all the time still. And so I would only open my eyes occasionally just to, make sure I knew where I was. Mm-hmm. And I just close my eyes back and just visualize my way all the way through there. And yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can visualize the whole dragon through my head. Mm-hmm. Like through and through without second guessing. As far as visualization on other ways go, there's certain points that I use for
landmarks.
Landmarks that I use for references. Like there's a wood post at the end of local straight that I use as a braking gesture.
The one on the left.
The one on the right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
The one on the left's a little right.
So I use that one. Once my front bumper hits it, I usually wait another, half second, or wait till it's at my door handle and slap it. So but there's certain reference points like that you can use. The biggest thing is just sit there and just keep visualizing it. Ride with friends and just take it in because it's hard to take it in while you're just driving.
Yeah. I would say get to know the corner names, but that's if you're coming up on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Like, the thing that helped me a lot is, I would hit a corner and be like, okay, I'm at Bristol, gravity is, 6 corners away.
Yeah.
This is this, and that. It definitely helped me learn the most with visualization when I was able to drive without using my brakes. And not driving so fast that, I'm so gripped up and suspension, yada, yada. But just driving fast enough to know, okay, I can I have to know to not go fast enough here and lift at the proper time and not use my brakes. But if I go too fast, then I hit my brakes, then I lose whatever little game I'm playing.
Right.
So I'd have to memorize where to not use my brakes and just kind of coast and keep this steady 20-mile-an-hour pace. And that, and being a photographer, driving at night. But for me, it's the same thing with all of us. Repetition, man. You want to get to memorize Road Atlanta? Do track days at Road Atlanta. Forza and Assetto Corsa and Gran Turismo can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just real life repetition, going up to the Dragon on a regular basis. If you're coming up for Touge Fest, stay on the road even in traffic. You're going to be able to be like, oh, this corner looks different at 10 miles an hour than it does at 50.
Mm-hmm.
So just hey, that's someone else driving, not me. I go 30. But that's my biggest thing. It's just repetition, and it naturally, by being up there, you will learn the names. You'll get to know certain things. You'll hang out with a photographer at a certain pull-off, and you'll be like, oh, this corner looks like this from the side instead of being on the road. So I think that's my big thing.
That's a good one. I would say for me, doing repetition is obviously the number one for anybody. But leaving it in one gear is one thing that's taught me a lot.
Like the no brake thing or something.
Yeah, pretty much. And just leaving it in one gear, that way you're not focusing on shifting, you're not focusing on heavy braking, like what he said, and you're just focusing on just going road. You don't have to go slow, by no means. You can do whatever that gear has capability of doing. But staying in that one gear makes you focus more on the road than it does on your transmission, on anything else that's going around you, so you can focus entirely on it.
It's like in my BRZ, I specifically, most of the time, I will stay in third, especially if I'm just cruising up or something. Yeah. I'll just stay in third the whole time.
But you would?
Definitely repetition, like you said. My thing is when people go up there, pay attention. Slow down, pay attention. I'm talking not even the speed limit. I'm talking 25 in certain areas. Just if you're going around a corner, no one's around you, just slow down, check it out. Get off, pull off somewhere, walk the road. Mm-hmm. Walk that little section of road.
Safely.
Yeah. Don't do like the hunters do and just walk in the middle of the road.
But a lot of it is it's like driving home every day. You get used to it. It's repetition.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, especially when I was shooting up there every day. I'm just I'm turning.
Let's do it. Eyes closed.
So I've done this with friends.
He's blindfolded. He's the one.
Hey, his hand is taped to the steering wheel.
We're putting this on the podcast. You still have to do that video.
Put that clip in. He's dead.
You still have to do the video driving the Supra on the Dragon blindfolded.
What?
Yeah. But no, it got to the point to where so I've done this I think twice now, to where I can sit in someone's car and call pull-offs with my eyes closed to be able to hit corners. But it's weird being a local, because you hear people how do you not get lost in all this? But being a local, bro, they're all so different.
Yeah.
They're so different.
For me, how I remember where I'm at and how I visualize the majority of it, other than repetition, like we've all said, everybody else has said, repetition, for me, I use a lot of landmarks.
Yeah, there's tons of landmarks.
And even the mile marker
signs.
Yeah, I've never, that's one thing.
Or how, especially if you're coming down into Stonewall, how the road feels right there, the cracks, the cracks in the road. Even if it's pitch night and I'm behind somebody that's just for some reason I just have my markers on in the BRZ because my lights are so dang bright in the BRZ. I just leave my markers. I just turn my markers on and have my actual headlights off. That way they can actually see them. I'm not blinding the absolute crap out of them.
Yeah.
I literally go over those cracks, and I'm like, okay, my Stonewall. Other than actually looking at the Stonewall landmark.
So I just do it I could tell you on that Stonewall just by feeling the dip down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yep, Stonewall.
It's the same thing with the cracks just before you go into the dip right there.
Or how you feel how the road hooks up.
Yeah.
You get a lot of muscle memory, too. You take a certain turn, you feel your right shoulder hit the seat a certain way, or your knee hits the seat a certain way. You get used to that.
And I have a really interesting question.
What do you got?
What do you got?
What's your favorite section on the Dragon that isn't gravity? And this is from Team Turmoil. # the big sexy man himself, Luke.
I know that.
The big sexy man himself.
Favorite section that's not gravity.
Shade Tree all day.
I'm never gonna forget seeing
This
you
man
dress
loves
that.
Shade Tree. Yeah. If it's me, I just call it. I can't call it this.
I can tell you this section if you tell me where.
Well, I'll just say it. I call it flat out section, but it's right where you can see Carnival Community and the lake.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, from pretty much the last half mile
Mm-hmm.
is what I'll call it. Yeah.
I don't know the corners as well as these guys do. I go up the least amount. But there's a series heading toward North Carolina side, to where it's basically 2 double apexes. Apex right, and then it's a hard left, and then it's another right. It's just basically 2 double apexes. I don't know what it's called, but that would be my favorite section.
Is it up there just before where
I'd say it's
Adam
almost
LZ Porsche got hit?
no.
Just before
Is it
Before
before Gravity?
Before Gravity.
Yeah, I know you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because it's fun because you can chuck it in the first apex and you can kind of let the rear end wiggle a little bit and then set you up for the next one.
Yeah.
As long as you have your proper rotation, it can really set you up. And I can't tell you how many times that you catch non-locals up there running it that don't know the roads as well as we do, and you'll catch them a lot. Me personally, I've caught a lot right there at that section because I let the car rotate, kind of touch the brakes a little bit, let the weight shift, and then send it. And I've caught a lot of people that like just shaved so much time off just catching them right there in that corner, allegedly. So
Don't incriminate yourself too much about it.
yeah.
See, Shade Tree, that whole section's my favorite because like you're constantly balancing between under and oversteer, constantly.
Yeah.
So like if you turn the wheel a little too much, it's gonna understeer. But if you flick it too fast, it's gonna oversteer. See, or if you throttle a little too hard, it's gonna oversteer.
So you're doing the walk.
Like literally, it's
Yep.
the whole section. The whole time I'm going through that entire section, allegedly, is I'm just walking the car.
Yep.
Walking, especially the left-hander before Shade
And it's
Tree.
a cool feeling.
That left-hander going before Shade Tree.
Going towards the state line.
Going towards state line. The car,
Oh,
the road
right
goes
there.
off camber, and so it's
Which
throwing
is
you.
what caused Sean to wreck. by the way.
It's throwing you off the hill, and that section, then throwing it into Shade Tree, man. Now, if you screw it up, which I have once done,
Oh.
I screwed it up
Oh,
once,
that'd be
just
scary
like,
right
just
there.
like Sean did.
Oh,
I did.
that'd be
I
scary.
almost pulled a Sean like 2 years ago in the Miata.
Oof.
Real quick, I basically set it up wrong.
Wrong.
He
Set
said
it up
wrong.
wrong.
He said wrong.
I braked where I shouldn't have. Car went this way, overcorrected. Whoop! 180 driving the middle of the road. It was like 2 a.m. Looks rainy. I was being stupid.
What
But-
about
Yo,
go ahead.
But yeah, so that section is.
mine is it's a weird one because most of the time when I'm up there, obviously I'm in a Miata until recently because the Miata's blown up.
Same like a Tord.
But like you come out of radar, you go up the hill, have the slight left,
Guardrail.
down the
Guardrail,
hill,
picnic.
have the right, and it's right after the hill into the right,
Going towards the state line? Towards the
going
overlook?
towards the overlook.
Oh yeah.
Going towards the overlook.
Yeah.
So me and that section we have a history.
That is, well, I also have a history with that section
that
too.
section's where the accident I was talking about earlier was. So
Right there too.
it took a long
You
time
didn't
for
have an
me.
accident up there.
Yes, it did. Sometimes.
Way back when.
2019.
It took me a long time to get comfortable with that section again. But once I did, man,
Now,
it is fun. It is
going towards the store from the overlook, that section, I do not like that section. But going towards the overlook, I like I like that same section.
That's a lot of it's a lot of flicking and commitment.
Yeah.
Brings me up to our next question.
I didn't even get to answer.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Jesus.
My bad. I
Um,
forgot you were here.
Thanks, guys. It's interesting that you say that. So my favorite is from my S's to radar,
Mhm.
going
Oh,
towards
yeah.
state line.
That's such
Yeah.
a good section.
It's a rally course right now because the road's falling
I know.
apart,
Yeah.
man.
Poor road.
Hey, by the way, to anyone that's coming up, if you've made it an hour and 4 minutes in the podcast, for anyone that plans on coming up this year, just keep an eye on certain spots on the road, especially if you have a super low car, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
the road is starting to.
Kind of deteriorate. A
Yeah,
lot.
there's some cracks where the road's decaying away a little bit towards the white line, so just keep that in mind when you come up. Always do a scout run, like we say. But you had another question?
Yeah, it brought up to the next question. And that next question is from CLTFB6, or CLT_FB6, which says, which part of the Dragon is better to drive? Towards the Tennessee state line, or towards Tennessee, or towards North Carolina state line.
You read it. Go ahead.
I'm going to say towards North Carolina. Going to state line.
Agreed.
Yep.
I'd rather go to state line than go to
State
Overlook.
line.
Same.
I think
It's
that's
just
just
that
the
bad.
only
I
one
think-
that's-
No,
You
Really?
I'm more comfortable
Go back home.
going back home.
I like the flow of the road, how it goes. I mean, I like it either way, but the flow of the road going
Yeah.
towards state line, just, I don't know, it just feels so much better.
If you go towards state line,
No cops,
no
baby.
cops, baby. You
That's
100%
why I like
positive.
it.
Yeah.
But I got.
And
it's
I have
weird-
the downhill section for hashtag me out of life.
It's weird for me because
Down both ways, puppy.
no, not
Especially more downhill.
yeah. Going
It's
towards
more
the
downhill going towards the state line, but you have
Yeah, both
downhill
have-
going both ways.
But from the Overlook going towards the state line, because I drive in from that side, obviously to shoot.
Yeah.
I just got super comfortable, just like having this weird, not weird, but this really peaceful like 6/10 flow, and it got me to where I know the road extremely well. And usually when I'm leaving, I'm just like I'm either tired or I just want to go home. So my association with the Dragon is when I'm driving in, I'm like, ooh, cozy, I'm gonna have a good day. And then when I'm leaving, I'm like, God, I just want to go home. So I like going towards the state line for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree. I'm more tired. I can feel more tired going toward Tennessee side than I would be going back to North Carolina side. But yeah, definitely, I'm in.
Don't have about any
Agree
Facebook
with you.
ones.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm going to next with Facebook.
I gotta. I mean,
I
I had one of the Facebook ones.
Yeah.
I
Hold on,
like
go ahead,
the
read.
way the road flows better going going home.
I do too, but I think after a while though, I just state line or going towards the state line. I just feel like there's better turns going towards the state line, like better angles.
I thought you almost said more
You know what I mean?
turns.
More turns.
More
He's
turns
going
going the other way.
Like each turn has got its own characteristic, and I think going towards the state line, it's a lot better.
I agree.
So I read James's question on Facebook, but I have like a good podcast ender from Camden.
Okay,
But I don't know if you want to end it yet. I don't know how much longer you want to go.
we'll go. It's 1:06. We'll go to a minute
A minute or an hour?
or an hour and 35. Sorry.
No.
We'll go to an hour and 35.
Because this one's going to be a pretty in-depth one.
Most in depth, we might drag it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's go ahead and do it.
Well, Austin sounded like you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Awesome.
So, from Camden, how did each one of you find yourself in the Tail of the Dragon Touge scene, or just any mountain scene in general? I feel like that's like our origin story.
Yeah, okay, I like this. This is a good one.
Yeah, so
this is a good ender. Okay.
So shout out to Camden for that one.
And the rest of the questions, you guys are already into the giveaway. Like I said at the end, I'm going to voice over who wins, and then I'll have the little screen that shows like the pie wheel and everything. It's not a gimmick or anything like that. But the rest of the questions, every time we do a podcast, we'll answer some of those questions before we start.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. I like that
Yeah.
idea. So, I mean, I guess I'll go first. But long story short, always been like an outcast. Never really felt like I fit in anywhere. Always got bullied in school. Never, all that stuff. And so I never really had any like close friends. And it was the same way all throughout high school, like middle school, high school, college, everything. And I ended up moving to Atlanta when I was 19. And I was like kind of into cars, but it was the type of cars that like I put a AutoZone filter on my car and said I had a turbo. It was like that kind of into cars, which everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah, everybody starts somewhere.
But I was like, okay, I need a reliable car. My Mitsubishi Eclipse isn't doing it anymore. So I bought an FRS and I hopped on the forums, not even the Facebook pages because they weren't as big back then. Hopped on the forums and I was like, well, what is around me? What are these kids doing? There obviously has to be a good bit of them. It was like 2014, 2015. And it turned out a bunch of them were meeting like 20 minutes from my house. And so I drove my little FRS, my little stock FRS. My very first one, I've had 4 or 5 now. My very first one I ever had, I had owned it for 2 weeks. And I drove it there and I met Ian Barton, who's a big 86 Atlanta guy. And I met a bunch of people, and they were talking about going for some drive. I was like, "Oh, we're gonna go for a highway cruise and like get some dinner." because they were talking about going to Tail of the Dragon. I was like, oh, what if that's like a Korean restaurant? I didn't know what the hell it was. And so, sure enough, my very first mountain drive ever was in my stock FRS, and we went up through Blood to, like, up here to the Dragon, had dinner at Topoco, the whole thing, and went back down through Blood, and we did it all in one day. And I have never felt, still to this day, like I belong with a group of people like that. I mean, that was like a revelation. It was my first time in my life I ever felt like I fit in. And I met Forrest not too long after that, and I can genuinely say that is the first friend I've ever had.
He's an alright guy.
He's okay.
But that was like that was like the first time I was like, this person and I share a lot of interests, and this isn't just like you do with like a girlfriend or something. But I was like, we share interests, we care about each other. Like, he's a good dude. I want to drive with this guy, and he's still one of my best friends. Like, he's been on the podcast. Like, that I think that was what got me started, because after that, I was like, I don't want to do anything else. All I want to do is cars. This is everything that I've ever wanted. I finally feel like I fit in. I get to drive. Like, I'd always played racing games, like everyone, Gran Turismo, Forza, whatever. I played a lot of Midnight Club. I was like that kid, but I was like in middle school playing Midnight Club, wearing like double XL shirts, and I weighed 90 pounds. Looked like I was wearing a sheet every day to school. But yeah, like, not to get too, like, emotional, but yeah, that was the first time I ever felt like I belonged anywhere. And, shout out to everyone that listens to the podcast that might be feeling the same way. It's like going out and driving. You found this podcast for a reason, so. If you do feel alone, or if you don't feel like you ever belong, just, go out and drive, and you never know what will happen. I mean, that's how all 5 of us ended up on this podcast. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's what got me started, and that continues to keep me coming back, because, dude, when I'm at, like, work or somewhere else, and people start talking about sports, people start talking about, like, IPAs or planes. Or I'm trying to think of things that you talk about.
Yeah.
But when people start talking about things outside that realm, I'm aware of them, but nothing like pulls on my heart like cars do. And
right.
I don't think anything ever will. So that will always keep me coming back.
I like that. That was good. That was really
It's touching, brother.
Thanks.
I got into the mountain scene, I guess, because I grew up here. I grew up on the North Carolina side, and I mean, even before I could drive, I remember going to the Dragon with my parents, or going through Wyatt to go see my grandparents and stuff like that. And I always just enjoyed those road trips as a kid. And then right in high school, middle school, I met Forrest in middle school. And in high school, he got an FRS, and I had, my little crappy Javelin. And so...
that you still have.
Yep, I still have, sadly. That we would go and we'd drive local mountain roads and have a good time. Well, and then we started coming up here, up to the Dragon, a lot, when I was in high school. So we'd come up here, we'd get out of school and come up here and go straight back the same night, get home super late, or, have mom cussing me out while I was getting home so late.
Dude, my parents would do the same thing. Force is the reason two of us had in trouble.
Yeah, my mom would even be like, Forrest, do better. Get him home sooner. Because, half the time I'd be riding with him anyway. So, but yeah, so we'd come up here, and, that started a lifelong passion of misery.
Misery and tires and brakes.
Yeah, I just stay tired all the time because I'm constantly going to events or hanging out with these goons. And
but dude, I wouldn't trade it.
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean,
who was I talking to about that? I was talking to Ashley about it the other day, and it's like sometimes I look at people in traffic and I'm just like, how are they not in cars?
Who are they?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're NPCs because everyone has their own life, everyone does other things, but I'm like, they're missing out.
Yeah, because this, for me, I know I've said it before in the podcast, but for me, I love cars, but I wouldn't be into cars like I am if it wasn't for the people I've met through them.
Yeah,
by far. I mean, whether it be Forrest or you guys or, all my Atlanta friends or, all that stuff. I've met all of these people because we shared one common interest, which is these stupid little machines that make us all giggle and smile like we're 6 years old again. So
that's true. I mean, it opens up and people see cars and they do stuff like that. They're like, oh, this guy is. Look at this guy. He probably has like no job, anything like that. He's barely making it. It's like, dude,
jobs.
Cars.
We have to have jobs.
You have to have good jobs. Cars are a huge network to a lot of things, and dude, they do a lot for society that society doesn't even realize. Yep. Especially in the safety aspect of it. But.
No question.
Why did you skim over yourself?
Yeah, because I just talked, but good.
I'm the oldest one here, so this started a little bit.
Oh, this is a Papa story.
You said back in the 30s.
Let me sit on your lap.
So,
Can I tell you what I want for Christmas?
So I am the oldest one here. So it started for me back. I'd say
the 1930s.
Yeah, 1920s, 25, something.
Back when the road was gravel.
The road was gravel. Yeah,
it was a buffalo car.
I'd say when I grew up, Dad was a NASCAR guy. And a Cutlass guy, he's always into them G bodies and stuff. So it's like,
you know what that G body shovel is?
But he grew up he kind of taught me a lot as far as like the muscle car stuff and NASCAR and stuff. Dad's been a NASCAR fan all my life, so immediately I'm always about racing and cool stuff. Even as a small child, going to Bristol when I was 8 or 7 or something like that. And then when I got into middle school I should say, good old thing called Fast and Furious. It's the Fast and Furious 1.
Well, you were in middle school when that came out?
Bro, I told you I'm old.
Yeah.
Yo, I was
Papa story.
I was 5.
What was it? 2001, right?
I was 6.
I was 11. So
you're not that much older.
No, I'm not that much older. I'm just like
you're calling my girlfriend old at that point. Then.
Oh well, we're both old, all right.
She calls herself old, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I love you, babe. Please don't leave me outside. It's cold outside.
I'll fight you, Ashley. Let's go. Come at me.
Of course, I fell in love with the eclipses and the supers and the skylines and stuff like that. That shit was so cool to me, and it led into all the way up into high school and such like that. More Fast and Furious movies. Of course, playing video games, I'll just skip right over that.
Yeah.
Because all of us have. And all the way up to my first car, which was a Honda Accord. An old 90 Accord, 5-speed, my first stick shift. Dad had to drive it home. I didn't know how to drive it. Learned how to drive it, yada, yada, yada. Well, a friend of mine that I went to work with worked at Walmart. And he was like, man, have you ever heard of Dragon? And I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. And he had a 3rd gen Eclipse. And he's like, let's go up. Because his dad was a biker. And we went up. I was 17 years old. I cut every lane in that road. Every lane. I straightened that road up as much as I could. I hate to say that. But, I mean, I didn't know any better. I was 17 years old when I first went up there. Ever. And I loved it. It was a great experience. But I didn't go back for the next 5 years, 6 years. Maybe even longer. I don't remember. But it wasn't until I started out of tech school, started getting into cars. More and more, as time progressed, so I started working at Firestone, and I kept meeting a couple little tuner guys here and there, and then I started building up my alignment,
your clientele,
yeah, and a couple of friends. I started building relationships with people of who I met on my alignment rack. Essentially, I wouldn't have known any of these guys if it wasn't for me doing alignments. None of them.
We've all been on
your
alignment rack.
Even when I was working at Walmart, I was sending people to Doug for alignments.
I haven't done this Miata. I've done this Sequoia.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Everyone's been on the rack.
Yeah. So I met every single person through the alignment rack, through it. Even people on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. It's all from the alignment stuff. Hey, I heard you did this, yada yada yada. So, anyways, I'm seeing more people start to go up there. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll maybe try to go up there. And I ended up buying a Miata. And
you're in B?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in 2010, a year prior to that is when I met my current wife, my only wife.
I was about to
say,
your girlfriend now wife.
Girlfriend now wife, yes, exactly. And she ended up getting a little Del Sol.
Sitting behind us.
That's it. And I got the Miata, and we actually started going up there. Didn't know any of you guys, didn't know any of the scene up there, didn't know who Kamal was, didn't know who Daryl Killboy was, nothing. Nobody. We just would go up there on a Saturday night, and summer to where it's nice and warm and everything. And we just hang out.
Who are those people?
Exactly. Exactly. So we go up there and hang out 2, 3 in the morning. Sometimes we wouldn't even run the mountain. We'd do like a down and back, and then we would just like hang out at the overlook and just.
Dude, that overlook has some memories.
It does. It's all memories. But we just hang out there 2, 3 in the morning even. You can't see anything, and we're just laughing, cutting up, having a good time, and then we go back home. And we made that almost a weekly thing. Even my wife made that a weekly thing.
Whoa.
Yes.
What changed?
Almost dying like twice.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. But we just go up there and hang out. And I ended up meeting a few people up there, and then one thing left another. I started gaining more clientele, and more people I know were starting to build their cars for it and stuff. So I'm like, cool, I guess this is the route I'm going. And then
1 people tells 3, 3 tell 9, 9 tell 27, whatever.
Ponzi scheme. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's not where I was going.
But essentially, long story short, super long story that's still long. That's kind of how I met these guys, and now we're here sitting in a garage telling our stories, essentially, and talking about stuff that we giggle like little schoolgirls about.
Yeah.
So,
like even before I get into my whole spiel, like even when I worked at Walmart when I was 19, 6 years ago, when I was 19, I was currently working at the time working at Walmart. I'd seen Doug's name pop up on Facebook groups and everything. Like he's the man to go to for alignments. I barely even knew him. I only seen him when he would come into Walmart with his now wife. And he would he would park at the auto care center and just come by, and I'd say hey or whatever. He'd be like, when you coming in for alignment? Bug the piss out of me about coming in for alignment every time.
It's always a shameless plug.
Yes. And I worked at Walmart. I didn't make any dang money, so it was kind of hard to. But even when I was still working at Walmart and didn't really know Doug all that well, I was still sending people to Doug to have alignments done.
Oh, I send people to Doug's all weekly.
Yeah.
Literally on the daily basis.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
We come charge you.
Like, you've got abnormal tire wear, you probably need an alignment. This is the go-to man in the area.
You do aftermarket stuff? Go see your spec.
Yeah, you've got coilovers on.
It's not even Euro spec, it's you're gonna go see him.
You're gonna go see him spec, yeah.
Make a statement for that one.
Go get that
First
Doug
First
spec.
time I actually properly talked to you was I sold you a bumper.
Yeah.
That's the first time I knew kind of who you were through Wade,
Yeah.
but I didn't know who you were. I was like, and I saw your Facebook.
Was it the bumper you left behind the shed up there?
Huh?
Yeah, it was.
Because I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the first time I ever
Yeah.
met him, I was on my way up there to go hang out, and I hit. Alright, I don't know if it's R.I.P. dog or not, but I whacked a dog.
You
off.
hit an animal.
Yes, it was definitely a dog.
Yes.
I'm trying to get I'm waiting for that on a podcast.
But he jumped in front of me. But I just retrofitted my headlights in my Miata, and I nailed this dog. Destroyed the headlight. Hurt the bumper. Didn't hurt the hood of the fender though. But man over here, luckily, just so happened to have headlights and a bumper.
Man, it's got the parts.
Then that car went on to be a champ car.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then blew a motor.
Mine is now owned by a lady probably in her late 50s, early 60s that does grid life events with it.
My old Miata is a spec Miata.
Is it? Oh
my
God.
red MB is a spec Miata, owned by Mr. Dustin Stevenson, who is head track manager for Roto. The red one with the red one with the blue rear bumper. Yeah, speaking of that's the rear bumpers. I won't have my little.
To go off into my little spiel, what got me into the mountain scene, Touge scene, was I met Wade back in middle school. Never really talked to him. I kind of knew who he was. I knew nothing really about him or anything. Never
knew
talked
he was
to
the
him.
man who could draw Benny Paney in school.
That's right.
That's
But then we
right.
get into high school and progressed through high school, and I actually met him and started talking to him through Austin Swaney, and then after we graduated high school and when I started before I was working at Walmart, my dad bought me a 1990 Toyota pickup that I still have. And I went to the Foothills Cruise In, and Wade was there with another one of our mutual friends. And we literally went to a restaurant. It's a bar and grill. It's actually where I go with my brother some weeks. And that's where the story of Wade picked me up at a bar came from. And it was like another month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks or so after that, where he was at my Walmart store because he was still working at Walmart at the time. He's like, hey, we're going to, my Toyota had blew up already by that point in time. And he was walking in, coming in from lunch, and I was going in for the day to start my shift. He's like, hey, me and a few others are going to Cars and Coffee in Knoxville this Sunday. You want to go? Yeah, sure. I called out Sunday. I literally parked my mom's Durango that I was driving at the time on the other side of the parking lot at Walmart, the store that I worked at. Called in, and it was there all day. And
they're like, he's here.
Yeah, they're like, because my shop manager was like, is that his Durango that he drives over there? I'm like, no, it's different. That's a different one. He would park over here if he was here. So they thought it was somebody else, but it wasn't. It was the one I was driving, but it was just on the other side of the parking lot. And we went, it was, obviously Wade was in his BRZ, Austin Swaney was with us, I was in the back seat. Crammed in the back seat. But I was there.
It's a good time.
It's easier in an 8.6 if you sit sideways in the boat.
Yeah,
it's definitely easier.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Because there was a cooler back there.
Yeah, there was a cooler, yeah. And so we got done at Cars and Coffee, and he was like, hey, we're going to go up to the Dragon. Are you cool with that? I was like, bro, I'm along for the ride. I was like, I called out. I'm here for the day. And that was what got me started in, other than, childhood video games, Gran Turismo, all that jazz. And then I bought my first Miata about 5 months later. 93 LE. Total piece of junk now. The last time I seen it was when me and Doug worked at Firestone, and it was misfiring and had ginormous oil leaks, power steering leaks. It was in rough shape. And that was what got me started going up to the Dragon. And then it just snowballed from there. And now I'm here, and I've met everybody here and everybody else that we know that I call friend, and it's where I fit in.
It's where all of us fit in, honestly.
Yeah.
Ashley got on to me at Touge Fest. It wasn't this last year, but the year before, before I was shooting. And I was walking around, and I would get, someone would notice me, and they'd be like, hey, Dylan, hey, I would get pulled around. She's like, God, this is so annoying. We can't hang out together. But I looked at her and I said, this is what I missed my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never had this. It's just now I finally, it's something
I have that now. And that's the thing that makes me go back and keep going back and spending the amount of money that I'm getting ready to spend and have spent because of I like the atmosphere, I like the people, and all of you goons. So
I think we can be our genuine. It's the first time because in middle school and high school you don't even know who you are, and now you get to be your genuine self, and people.
I'm still
it's
my
like hanging out
awkward.
with boys up
Yeah,
there.
I'm still my awkward, shy self, but I can be my awkward and shy self around other people.
Yeah, it's the same when you go to Touge Fest. When you go to Touge Fest, it's like everybody knows you. When I go to Cars and Coffee locally, I can't go look at cars.
Yeah.
You get pulled in every direction. Man.
He might make it. He literally makes it 2 feet. He barely even steps out of gets his car door open, and somebody's coming over to him.
It's awesome. Like it's what shows you, and it goes the same way with you. It's what shows you what all of your communication on social media, and and your work even.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it shows you.
It's where you pour your heart and soul and people, and there's a certain feeling you get when it gets recognized, but there's another feeling you get and you're appreciated for it.
Yes.
And
Totally
that
different.
acknowledgement is that appreciation.
Yep.
And I think for all of us, that keeps us coming back because we all get to be appreciated for being genuine selves. Yep. And so to answer Camden's question, I think the big thing that got us started and the big thing that keeps us coming back is that we feel like we belong.
Yep. 100%.
We didn't hear one story though.
Ways.
I'll do mine real quick, but a lot of people know me for the BRZ. They know, hey, there's that BRZ. He's up on the Dragon all the time. That's Wade.
No, it's not Sean.
Or Sean, yeah. But
Hashtag
a few differences right there. But anyways, I used to go into the Dragon in a pickup truck, a 1500
PS10?
Silverado. I'd go up there in the Silverado, go back and forth, up and down all day long. But the main thing about getting it is like it doesn't matter what you're in, what you drive. You can have a fun experience no matter what you bring up there. Like we brought my mom's CRV up there and just ripped it. But
Toyota Heist.
But
Yeah.
you go up there every time, regardless if it's a dead day or if it's full of people that you know. It's always an experience, and that that's what always brings me back to it.
The atmosphere, the experience of the atmosphere in the community is what, and the connection to the community, of the community, to being the community, is what keeps
Community.
Family. That's what the experience of all of that is what keeps every single one of us there, anchored there, and anchored here, living here, and going back.
Heck, I went up there last Saturday. I went up in a Jeep Wrangler because I just want to hang out with people.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Be alright.
I plan on going up a bit more this year.
You said that last year.
Shut up! I say that
And the
every
year
year.
before.
I say that every year.
He says it every year.
I do. I will try to go up more, especially with warmer weather. Cold weather, I'm dainty.
Bro, I don't even want to be out there in cold weather.
I know. You're out there in a little tent, man. With like
My little
50,
pod.
He's in,
your
he's in a little pod
with 50
now.
layers,
Yeah.
man.
Hey, but that's how much I like it, man.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting? And, I mean, you've been up a couple times, but all you guys have been up a lot. You notice how there's always at least one person in my pull-off?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's you.
That makes it worth it. That was one other person. Or, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I had, like, 11 people in my pull-off.
Yeah.
In the middle of January. And I was like, this is what it's about. It is 50 degrees out, which is great right now, but when you look at it in July, they're going to be like, it was freezing.
Yeah.
And you had 8, 9 cars in that pull-off. Like, goes back to what we were talking about. One of my good friends, Rocky, he owns an importer dealer. He imports Japanese cars, and he's like an ex-MotoGP champion. And older dude, super wise. And he comes up to me, he goes, you notice how a lot of these people don't know each other? I was like, yeah, why? He goes, you're part of the reason that these people are getting to know each other. I never thought about it like that.
That is true.
And that really meant a lot. That, like, the 3 people was like him, Charlie, and like Charlie Smith, and then Fiesta Sean. Mm-hmm. They didn't know each other, and they all became friends that day. And that really meant a lot because now I'm helping. Oh, this makes me really emotional. Now I'm helping people become friends, and I can now be what I wish I had when I was a kid.
Damn, bro.
Damn.
Back to the
hurt.
kid thing, like, so
I want to put that on my map.
brothers.
I think the main aspiration that we all have
Check
when we
loss
get
lines.
into cars, because we all remember being that little kid
That's some tissue.
that would see that cool car go either parked at the show or parked on in town or whatever, or in the Walmart parking lot, and just looking at it and just being overfilled with joy. And when a little kid does that to one of our cars now, it reminds us and it makes us want to be that little kid.
Feels
again.
good.
It really does.
Yeah, you get to be what you wish you had as a kid.
Yeah.
That's why I love even just going to car shows. And you bring in a car like of a show car quality like this caliber, and you have people all the time. You have no idea who the hell they are. They're coming up being, dude, I'd love to have this, and yada yada yada. And I can't tell them enough, man. Check it out, man. Sit in it. I don't care. You know?
Yeah.
Be one with it. I don't mind. And it's the same thing going
In
on.
my case, stand on the wing.
Yeah,
I mean,
same as yours.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's really cool. Like, I mean, when I was growing up, I had, I was always kind of engulfed in cars anyway. My parents always had been. And, like, we went up to the Dragon and, like, we got to talking to people like Matt Chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when I was a kid, I had people like Matt Chambers, like, yeah, send the Viper, come on. And so, like, I got...
Mistake.
Yeah,
Now-
I mean, I remember, like, being 12 years old, getting a ride in a Hennessy Viper through the Dragon. Like, at 12 years old.
Mhm.
And thinking, I'm the coolest kid on the freaking block. And if I got in front of a Hennessy Viper right now, I thought I was the coolest kid on the block, you know? And so if I can be as close to that kind of an influence as they were on me, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it up pretty good. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm going to voice over who actually won. So, the winner is...
Reina.GTR.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for the questions, guys. I know we couldn't hit all of them tonight, but I do appreciate every single support with the questions. Instagram, Facebook.
Yo, keep asking the questions.
Yeah, keep asking. We'll answer them.
And it doesn't have to be about the dragon. It can be about, like, what's your
Him.
favorite...
No, I'm
what kind of body lotion do you use after showers? I mean, dude, it can be any kind of weird question, except for certain.
Don't even
question
mention it, dude.
These
We made it this far.
These comments are about to get real weird.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for checking out on Spotify, hitting the YouTube link, and just sharing the podcast. I've heard a lot of feedback on the podcast. I've been seeing the analytics on it, and it's been good. So,
in
guys,
case you forgot, his name is Wade.
It is. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. And as always, keep hitting.